Over the last few years, it's become increasingly clear that a big piece of the crypto staying game is simply not doing anything insane in the pursuit of short term profit. This applies as equally to whole ecosystems as it does to individuals. Should we cook up a staking scheme that turns 20% yields and is obviously going to tend toward ponzinomics? If that's the question, you need one sane person in the room who's going to say, nope, that's crazy. In order to achieve longevity in this crypto game, you cannot hunt the short term gratification at the expense of long term health. A good number of our competitors might just substantially eliminate themselves from the Gen 3 blockchain race by misunderstanding this. Ready?
Woo! Let's go!
Today, we are going to discuss Algorand being on the verge of one of those insane decisions, Vasil hard fork combinator event getting closer and closer, Bitcoin Pizza Day coming around once again and what it all means, Pavia and a mystery building, and also the release of their builder tool, at least the timeline for that release being dropped. If you are currently locked in an asylum wearing oversized sunglasses, or if you're finding value in these videos each weekday, please consider delegating to the army of spies stake pool, ticker AOS. Crypto has become a little bit of a last person standing game, and it seems like one of the best ways to not be that last person standing is to shoot your future self in the leg in the pursuit of more instant gratification. It looks like Algorand is on the cusp of that type of decision. Here we have a post from Daniel Rebar. He says, curious Algorand vote about to take place. It'll present two options on how to allocate voting power for the future votes. How do you feel about doubling the voting power for DeFi protocols generally versus everyday stakeholders? Yay or nay? If we come down here and look at the language from the Algorand proposal, we see them saying to recognize the contribution of DeFi participants to the Algorand ecosystem and to further advance decentralization, we propose to double the voting power of DeFi participants as compared to algo holders. That is option A. Option B is to keep the status quo. They say the foundation supports the more inclusive option, option A. I, of course, in the comments down below, likened this to driving nails through a certain part of my body. But when I think about this, to me, this is really one of those decisions. Hey, should we give more power to the DeFi projects? Should we give the DeFi projects double voting power and let them vote on behalf of the people who've invested in them? This is kind of like if JP Morgan bought some congressperson and had them introduce some legislation. Hey, to attract investment to the United States and for the good of its citizens, we would like to give shareholders of JP Morgan double the voting power in any general election. This will be good for you. I mean, you can make an argument. Yeah, that's going to, in some small way, that's going to make holding shares in JP Morgan more attractive. It might attract more investment to JP Morgan, and maybe if we did that for all the traditional finance institutions, that might attract more investment to our American financial institutions. Is it a good idea? Not at all. Not at all. What we found in the traditional system is that the financial institutions somehow end up with an outsized amount of influence and power. That's the way it's pretty much always worked. It's pretty much always been the case that the financial institutions end up with influence beyond their numbers, beyond their size, at least beyond their, representation in the population, maybe not beyond their economic size, because they always end up being economically powerful, and somehow this always ends up translating into political influence. I think it's an easy long-term call to say, let's not accelerate that process. That'll happen all on its own. The financial institutions will end up with more influence than perhaps they should have, no matter what. We don't need to accelerate that. It looks like Algorand is on the cusp of this type of decision. And, they've got their own, I'm sure they have their own rationale for this, but I'm not a part of the Algorand community. But if I were a part of that community, I would be hoping somebody would be raising their hand and saying, hey, this is crazy. Let's not do the crazy thing here. Let's do the smart long term thing. Sure, this is likely to encourage people to invest in DeFi projects, and DeFi projects is the current trend as far as measuring the success of a blockchain. TVL in DeFi projects is the way a lot of people currently think about the successful blockchain, but that might not always be the case. And whether or not it should be the case, even currently, is kind of a question that's on the table. So, Algorand, I understand you're probably thinking this is a clever decision, but I can't help but think this is you guys shooting your future self in the leg. You might be at home making the devil's advocate argument in your head. Okay, if you don't want us to entice these DeFi projects with outsized political influence, how do we attract these kinds of projects to our blockchain? I think the way you do it is the way Cardano is attempting to do it. I think you strive to create the very best technical environment for these projects so that they want to build on your blockchain. Cardano's got the Vasil Hard Fork Combinator event coming, and that's going to bring in reference inputs, reference scripts, inline datums. We've got pipelining coming, and down the road, we'll have input endorsers as well. I think instead of bribing these projects with this boosted political influence, I think you just try to create the very best technical environment. And it looks like Cardano is only 8 epochs away from the Vasil Hard Fork Combinator event, according to this post. It's just kind of slowly sneaking up on us. Here it is once again, Bitcoin Pizza Day. It's almost a holiday, but if holidays were mainly cautionary tales. So Charles here says, happy Bitcoin Pizza Day, everyone. Those pizzas are now worth $300 million. You all already know the story, but this fellow here, Laszlo, wanted to do basically the first sort of commercial transaction for a real good in Bitcoin. He did this back in 2010. This is his post about it, I'm assuming on the Bitcoin Talk forums. And he posted this picture where he traded 10,000 Bitcoins in exchange for someone calling and ordering 2 pizzas for him. I believe they paid for the pizzas by credit card over the phone, something like that. And people parade this out once a year, every year, to remind you to try really hard not to buy $300 million anything, not to trade your Bitcoin for anything, because it has been this story of exponential growth, foremost in Bitcoin, sort of since this period in the early days of Bitcoin, but also for a lot of crypto. I think we this is sort of a reflection of the dual realities in crypto. We have this idea that crypto can be the basis for a new economic operating system for the whole world, and possibly that means it's a currency. And then we have this other idea that's pushed a lot by maximalists of various chains, and that idea is that you must hodl for your life. Never ever sell your crypto. Don't sell it no matter what. Don't become the Bitcoin pizza guy. And we don't really know what's going to be the case with any particular blockchain. I say it all the time. Nobody knows what the price is going to do, least of all me. I don't know what the price is going to do. The guys doing TA don't know what the price is going to do. The guys doing fundamental analysis don't know what the price is going to do. No one knows what the price is going to do. I think largely, though, people in crypto share certain things. We're all trying to make a little money. We'd all love it if our crypto portfolios skyrocketed. That's not something any of us would object to. And we all also were probably initially seduced by the idea of creating a new economic operating system for the entire globe that could make things better, create a more equal economic playing field. The Bitcoin pizza thing, it sort of works for and against different parts of those different narratives, but it is a part of our sort of shared crypto culture. Bitcoin Pizza Day. Once again, it is here, the cautionary tale. Recently, Pavia seems like they've been a little bit quiet compared to a project like Cornucopia's, maybe. But they had this to show us. They said, what is this a part of? It looks like some kind of a space garage. I can't tell if that's a hangar for, airplanes or spaceships, or just a regular garage for more terrestrial vehicles or something else entirely. But they like to kind of tease us with these kinds of little things. But this time, Pavia also has a more substantive update for us. They say our version 1 builder tool is on track for this quarter. The first cohort to have access will be our verified PCA creators. We've talked about them before on this channel, and those already in the PCA 3D working group. Anyone looking to join the second cohort, please head to our Discord in bio and request access to the builder tool group. I like to see this. I want to see the day when I can go on my parcels and start building Spy Beach in Pavia. That will be a good day. Down below here, they say, to confirm, the version 1 builder tool will be released in June. Testing cohort 1 equals verified creators in 3D working group. Testing cohort 2, those joining from this call to action. We already have a feedback mechanism in place, and we'll update the UI and bug fixes as we go. This is going to be great. I can't wait for this. Hopefully in June, the builder tool, at least version 1, will be up and running, and we can start seeing the actual build out of Pavia. That will have been a long time coming at that point. It looks like South Korea may be looking for the deepest pockets it can possibly find to help compensate the investors damaged by the Luna crash. They are going after the exchanges. I have no idea how South Korean securities law works, but typically, if you are helping to distribute a security, the way the regulations are written up, you're sort of on the hook for whatever's going on with that security, if there's fraud involved, all those kinds of things. So not a huge surprise that they're actually going after the exchanges here. They say South Korea's top 5 exchanges were summoned to discuss Luna. Apparently those are Upbit, Bithumb, CoinOne, Corbit, GoPax, and Dunamu. They have all been summoned to a meeting where I'm sure they're going to discuss, hey, how much do you guys want to cough up here to help compensate the victims? I mean, it kind of makes sense they would go after the exchanges. They are the deepest pockets. They probably have the most money. I think the South Korean government is expecting that the team behind Luna isn't going to have the kinds of funds at this point necessary to compensate the victims. We'll go ahead and call them victims right now, even though you can make arguments that they are just investors who made a bad investment, but we'll go ahead and call them victims right now because I'm sure that's the way they are feeling. Anyways, this is not really a huge surprise. If you are the deep pocket and you're sort of in the stream of distribution of something that securities regulators can call a security, and if they can allege there was some kind of fraud or any other kind of like inappropriate activity, they're probably going to go after you. In more news that is in no way shocking, it turns out that President of the European Central Bank, Christine Lagarde, still does not like crypto. She says, I have said all along that crypto assets are highly speculative, very risky assets. Okay, fair enough. Then she goes on to say, my very humble assessment, you notice whenever anybody says my humble opinion is, that's always when they're going to lay on you something that doesn't seem very humble. My very humble assessment is that it's worth nothing. It is based on nothing. There is no underlying asset to act as an anchor of safety. This is not a surprise. She's president of the European Central Bank. They're in the business of minting and managing a money supply. Is it a shocker to anyone that she doesn't like a completely alternate money supply that she doesn't control, that her central bank doesn't control? Of course not. That's the business of a central bank. Issuing and managing a money supply. Of course, they don't like a competitor money supply that they have no control over, especially if it's a much harder money that can't be inflated away. It's a much more attractive alternative. The funniest part of this article, though, is down below here. It says, Lagarde revealed she had never invested in crypto assets, but her son had, with little luck. I'm sure her son just loves that she put him on blast to the entire world. Hey, I've never invested in crypto, but my son did, and he lost money. I'm sure when he saw these articles, he was just like, oh, thanks, mom. That was excellent. You know what might be a good sign that things are not going well with a project? When they post something like this. Due to community members' lack of emotional intelligence, our Discord server has been terminated. Thank you, guys. And they post a South Park meme. This is probably a good sign that things are not going well. As you can see here, those guys are one of the Muesli Swap milk pools. It's kind of an interesting thing to think about. You've got a DEX that has these sort of staking pools, and things are going to go wrong with certain projects. But at what point do you, as the DEX that has these staking pools, what criteria do you put in place to decide like, hey, things may be going wrong with a certain project? When do we turn off the pool? I mean, is it something like this? If they turn off their Discord, do they have to delete their Twitter account? Like, what's the criteria under which you would turn off the stake pool for a DEX like Muesli Swap? Kind of I'm sure this will result in some hard choices for them. Whether it is the case with this project or projects in the future, kind of an interesting sort of gatekeeper function for these DEXs like Muesli Swap. In any case, I hope you are having a great week, and I will talk to you tomorrow.